So for this next session, I'll be moderating it. It's a session about going beyond the launch, how product marketing managers can influence demos. I'd like to add before all the pre-sales people, they're like, "Oh, product marketing not relevant to me." Actually, we learned from many sessions today that working with your product marketing team and working with that demos are demo operations, and that demos are much more sophisticated, or should I say that demos are not just about the live demo. Demos are also about the product tour and the interactive product tour, and also the leave behinds afterwards, which is which needs your marketing team. So if you're a product marketer, this is definitely a session for you. And if you're not a product marketer, but a person that has a marketer on their team, this is still a session for you. So welcome and thanks for joining. I wanted to, so just a reminder, I'm Barry Muller, product marketing at DemoStack. My first time doing actually to moderate a session on marketing, so I'm very excited on that. And I want to introduce you to our other panelists. They're so amazing. I've talked to them multiple times this past year. And so Yael, she leads product and corporate marketing at Hunters. Previously, she was product marketing at Checkpoint, also a software, cybersecurity software. And so thanks, Yael, for joining.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll learn more about what Hunters does in this session. I'm sure it will be relevant when we discuss specific assets. And then Noelle, she leads product and corporate marketing at Gloat. Gloat is a human resource software, but I know Noelle can definitely add on to that description. Maybe actually even take that time now, Noelle, to add some of that description of what Gloat does and some of your background. I know that you did product marketing at Salesforce before. Is that correct?
Sure thing. Thanks, Barry. Yes, Gloat offers an agile workforce operating system. So it's an HR technology powered by AI that delivers a series of talent marketplace applications and skills infrastructure for workforce planning and skills-based strategies. So I'm there today leading product marketing and corporate marketing. And prior to that, I was in Salesforce doing cross-product marketing and launch marketing.
All right. Excellent. So I think that's Gloat was doing AI before AI was cool. Let's just say that. So so I think we're going to start the conversation with you, Yael. I wanted to discuss before we discuss how marketing can influence demos. Let's again, maybe this was discussed a bit before without different sessions, but I want to hear it from the mouth of marketing. How can PMMs influence? What are the different types of demos and use cases that PMMs can even influence?
Absolutely. And well, firstly, thanks for having me, Barry, and the DemoStack team. And it's a pleasure sharing this panel with you, Noelle, as well. When we talk about demos, I think it encompasses so many different things, right? Whether it's a bypasser at a booth in a massive trade show on the floor to when a prospect is about to enter a POV or POC and everything that's in between, right? Whether that's marketing, sales demos, is it a 5-minute product pitch? And so you have all types of demos. Now, the one important thing is to keep some sort of consistency across them all, whether you have 30 seconds of the attention span of whom you're pitching at a potentially an event, to when you're talking to analysts of some analyst firm, to obviously when you're trying to convince a prospect to start a POV or a POC. And I think there's so many different use cases. We had Ian Forrest, our VP of Sales Engineering, participate a few sessions ago. He also mentioned that at Hunter specifically, we've also had, recently we launched a customer certification program where obviously we need to demonstrate the product and get into so much more depth. So I think all of those are part of what we call the demo. Now, what are the different use cases, and keeping that storyline and that consistency is what's going to be important, and where product marketing needs to influence, at the very least, what are the building blocks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a lot of use cases. Maybe I think you covered all of them, possibly. Noel, did anything for you to add?
I mean, no, I think I'd double down on that. The demo comes through long and short. It's a storytelling tool and an educational tool, so also really key for all of your enablement and maybe even onboarding use cases to train your teams and your customers.
I love that. Storytelling tool and an enablement tool. So much part of the operation, but also a tool, meaning it's supposed to, shares the message that we're trying to convey, and it's not we're not demoing for the sake of demoing. I think there's one piece, and maybe you mentioned it, Yael, or maybe we went through it quickly, and but people are calling this a product tour. Some people are calling it interactive product demo. Is that something that you got that your team considers a demo these days?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that can be one of the very first interactions that an audience can have with your SaaS tool. Um, at Hunters specifically, and product tools have been discussed widely during the event today. But the ability to show something even before you speak to anyone, right, to any sales rep, the ability to have that self-serve product tour, that it's gated, you have those guardrails, you show exactly what you want to be showing. And something that's also important to remind in this context is that at the end of the day, you're doing a demo. It's not a feature walkthrough. We're all very proud of the things that our R&D and product teams are developing, and everything is beautiful and amazing. But when you have like very little attention span of your audience, what are those things that you really want to demonstrate, and how can it make their life better? So product tours are a great way of doing that. We can discuss a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think let's discuss the live demo. There's a lot of pre-sales are listening, so I think let's discuss there, and then I think later, to your point, we could double down on event demos, we could micro demos, which can be live, the analyst, the customer certification. There's so much to talk about. I'm not worried about time, but I do want to talk about the live demo and how PMM falls within that. So. Or marketing as a whole. So as a no, for you as a PMM, you work a lot on positioning and differentiation. I know it's a passion of yours, if you will. How do you make sure that actually goes into the AE or pre-sales demo?
Yeah, it's an important connection point there. So as product marketing, you're figuring out what really differentiates your product and how you really convey the value of that product. But that messaging falls flat if it doesn't then show up in the first call deck that the AE has. And then at first touch with the product, you need your end customer, your prospect, to really see that value show through. You've done the research as a product marketer. You've probably put hours into fine tuning these message points and knowing your differentiators. And you really want to make sure that shows up when the product is actually on, on view and being exposed for the first time. And so I think as a product marketer, it's really important to think about storytelling and enablement, leading by example. As a product marketer, I feel like I need to be able to demo and showcase anything that I'm asking teams to position and sell. And so it's leading by example, it's training teams, and it's encouraging your pre-sales team to really pause and think about what is the value we are trying to deliver to this customer? What is their pain point? And how do we stop and show that value? And not just show all of the incredible things that our products can do, but making sure that the differentiation points are really highlighted. Are you making sure that that's shining through? Are you making sure that the key positioning moments are laddered up, and that you're really pausing in those demos and getting customer feedback and reaction to bring that positioning forward?
I love that. That's so good. Yael, you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Like if you're presenting your product, and unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, these days a lot of sales calls happen via Zoom. So I feel like a lot of times when the AE or the SE starts sharing their screen to demonstrate the product, and that's a perfect time for the prospect to go and start like skimming through other things, switching tabs. You really want to make sure you're addressing their questions and concerns. And as Noelle is saying, like asking questions throughout, does this resonate? How does this compare to the tools that they're currently using that you're trying to replace or augment? So I feel like that's absolutely, absolutely critical if you want to make the most out of the time that you have from the valuable time of your prospects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
feel
would
like,
add on top of that, I'm sure we have a pre-sales audience here who's maybe annoyed by all the product marketing things that we put out there, but as a product marketer, you're probably writing scripts or must-hit points, and maybe even recording demo vignettes of different areas, different use cases, different product features, and how you show up. That's one of the ways that I use Demo Stack actually is, how do I create these custom authentic vignettes so that my pre-sales team or even our prospects get a real view into something in particular, and you send those out and there's no expectation that a pre-sales person is going to deliver your demo script word for word, but I think as a product marketer, you just have to keep pushing out those value-based messages. And the demo is a great tool to do that, because if they start hearing and hearing and hearing a really good demo, maybe some of that will seep into how that experience shows up with your sales engineering team.
well, love that. How do you, this is a new question, how do you actually push that to your pre-sales team and to your sales team? Are you doing enablement sessions? Are you using a content management system, Slack?
A little bit of everything, right? So, you have like a knowledge base where we might have, especially for new employees and whatnot, it's always helpful to have recordings of like, okay, what are the different areas and functions that we offer? What does this product look like? At Gloat, okay, we offer career pathing solutions. We offer an internal talent marketplace. What does that experience look like? You want to have a knowledge base and have maybe a recording or something to show what that product is at a high level. But then at the same time, you need the standard training. I think having people watch demos, maybe certifying them on demos, providing feedback if you have Gong and saying, hey, I really liked this, or this is a really great moment to pause and say, here's a differentiator we could have highlighted. So, it's all of the above, I guess, is the answer. Whatever you have capacity to do, and whatever resources your company has.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's quite similar. We also have an internal knowledge base, and every time we launch something new, we make sure to have an internal enablement session, and then you want to pair that with how has the product changed, right? If we're releasing a new big feature that we want to make sure we're pushing out, how does that affect the demo? Is it part of our usual demo script? Is this something that you should be presenting separately? And obviously we use demo stack as well to showcase the new capabilities that we've added. And very much as Noelle is saying, like we want to make sure that those differentiators, that those things that we're saying, that we're putting in blog posts and social media posts, and that we're telling sellers to repeat as kind of sound bites, that those are also showcased in the product. Like imagine you would have to do this, how would it look like? Well, look how you can do it with our product. So I feel like that gives a much more powerful message when they can actually see it in the platform or in a product tour, if we have the ability to create one of those for a product launch.
Absolutely. I love the idea. Like, I feel like this is what makes both of you really good marketers is this importance of pausing. And I think that's also what makes some of the best pre-sales professionals the best pre-sales professionals. I actually heard, and I don't know if everyone agrees. You can put in the chat if you disagree. But it's actually from Dan Katz. So I hope you're okay that I'm publicly talking about you. He's our head of pre-sales here at DemoStack, and he mentioned that his role is to tell the story one-on-one, and my role as a product marketer is to tell the story one to many. And because I asked him about his role, and I'm like, wait, you're talking about what I do? What are you like? What's going on here? He's like, yeah, because our roles are actually pretty similar, except yours one to many, and I'm one to one. So I think that's like that idea of pausing, showing value, not feature dumping, is consistently um, important from pre-sales to marketing, and I think it's a super important message for storytelling. Um, a Yeah, you told me a story last time that I think is super relevant right now. The first when you joined Hunters, that what maybe you could tell the audience what was the first thing you did with regards to demos when you first joined Hunters a few years back.
Yeah, absolutely. When I joined Hunters slightly over 3 years ago, we had just raised our Series A. And one of the first things that I was tasked with was to come up with a structure for a demo that then we could translate into marketing materials, demo videos, and so on. At the time, demo stock wasn't around. So, yeah, when I went to our engineering team and suggested that we created a trial version of the product, they were like, okay, yeah, sure. You wait with that, queue it up on Jira, maybe it will happen in a bit. Um, but what I did at the time was I was very curious on how the different stakeholders in the organization were presenting the product. Because from my perspective, like, well, everybody is talking and it's selling the same product, they should probably speak about it the same way. I was so wrong. I asked stakeholders from sales engineering, research, engineering, even the CEO, please just show me the product. How would you present it? And I realized that they weren't even starting from the same screen. They would open the portal and just jump on like the ultimate outcome of the platform. And some of them would go to when we start ingesting data. So how do you start using the platform? Some of them would start from the main screen of the portal. So it was very interesting to see that and kind of having that baseline of, okay, what are the things that everybody agrees that are unique to the platform, and how do we present those first, as opposed to just doing, as I'm saying, right, like the feature or screen walkthrough. So that was very interesting, getting everybody's input on that, and then aligning everyone. And I think to this day, like, well, everybody like adds their own flavor to how they present the product, but there is some sort of common storyline, and paired with the messaging work that we were doing in parallel, it came out really well, right? You should start presenting these things and move on to the next thing, and kind of challenge your audience while you're at it. So that was a very interesting exercise and very eye opening on how people present the product completely differently depending on the org they belong to, or how their own perception of their product looks like, which is very much common in startups, I would assume.
Yeah, it is. That's a fact. Um, I love the investigative. It's kind of like marketers sometimes can have to become these investigative journalists or investigative anything in order to get all that information. Noelle, I wanted to go to you. This is something that I think is interesting, specifically with pre-sales, also on the line, and with marketing. But who is steering the demo, right? So, like, Yael, when she first joined, it made sense for her to come on to shape up the demo. It could be that they didn't even have a pre-sales team because it was so early, or it could be that they were just so involved with POCs that they didn't have time to focus with the POC. But maybe, or it could be that marketing really should be leading the steering committee for the demo. So, in your opinion, um, and I, it could be, it depends, but in your opinion, um, how should the steering committee be for the whole demo operation?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think you really need joint ownership here. If product marketing alone owns the demo, but they're not the ones actually bringing it to life with sales, I think you're going to lose some luster. You really want your pre sales team to feel ownership, feel like they have the ability to create this story. But I also think you can't, have that exist in a silo. Your product marketing team, people like me and my team, are spending a lot of time trying to figure out what your differentiators are, what your key stories are, how you break through and really best convey the value of the product that you deliver. And there's so much goodness that can come from infusing that data and perspective into how you're demoing. And so I think, from a steering committee standpoint, you're going to need your sales team and your pre-sales team. You're going to need product to make sure that we're showing and representing, the right functionality. And you're going to need product marketing involved to really think about how are we telling the story in alignment to the use cases, to the pain points, to the people that we are demoing to. And what that looks like may be different for any company depending on your size and scale. But I think from a product marketing perspective, after you've done your core messaging, positioning, and whatnot, you need to take a look at the demo and actually think about, how do I tell this story? Where do I start? How do I bring someone on a journey? For me, I like to think about, what makes a demo stand out to me? What makes me pay attention to a presentation or a Zoom call or whatnot? It's usually not someone clicking through all of their slides and showing a stat or showing me every little thing they can do. It's usually someone telling me a story or recognizing something that I said and saying, here's how we can help you with that. And so I think as product marketing, you really have to build into your launch process, how do you demo? How do you, partner then with your pre-sales team on, okay, here's a story as I would tell it in the marketing journey, and maybe what might be like the perfect demo video that we send to a customer, but how can we turn that into something that you can authentically deliver and practice and make your own? So that's my take. Could be an opinion, but that's my perspective.
Yael, any thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think once we start building our own demo scripts, or how we want to how we want the organization to be demoing the product, we tend to forget that we ourselves are buyers of software as well, and we have a specific way in which we like to be pitched a new product. We want it to be relatable. We want it to address the use cases that we're trying to solve. And then sometimes as product marketers, or anyone in the organization, really, we fall into the trap of, again, showing everything kind of, instead of having a conversation, it's more of a monologue of like switching through screens. And then you lost the attention of the prospect, and you haven't gained anything, right? You haven't made the most out of that valuable time. So I think always bearing in mind that we ourselves are also buyers. We've also been through a buying journey for whatever tool it is. So keeping that in mind, I think helps staying very honest, right, on how we want to be positioning and presenting the product when it comes to demos.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next session with Jonathan and Udi is titled "How to Buy and Sell to Humans." So definitely can relate to that. It sounds like what both of you were saying. It's a lot of work. Is that a correct assessment?
I mean,
Probably.
it's not a lot of work, but it's important work, and this is kind of at the crux of product marketing. I mean, the real work is, figuring out your differentiators in your core message. Once you have that, this is just an exercise in how you bring it to life. A demo, you have the product, and now that you've figured out how you want to position it, the demo is really your tool to go test that out and show that to the world. And it's a great way to get feedback and inform that. And it's more it's work, but it's the fun of it. You're running an experiment and seeing, do I get the head nods? Do we need to change something up? But you've done the work of building a great product and identifying, the messages you want to test.
So I'm gonna tell you what's on top of my mind. So for the product features, like new products, it makes sense because there's like product marketing has a schedule. Like, okay, I have to do this checklist of 12 things, the beta case study, the website copy. I don't know what fancy webcam went backwards. The case study that's in beta, the web copy, the landing page for the ads, the messaging. But what about the demo that isn't related to a specific product feature release? Like, when do we know? When does product marketing know that they should be involved for like the main demo, if you will?
Well,
I mean, I think oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you need to start with what's unique to your product, right? And kind of being that gatekeeper of. And sometimes it's a bit of an unpleasant situation because obviously you have wonderful product and engineering teams developing outstanding features, but sometimes those are kind of feature parity with your competitors. It's things that you need to have, things that not necessarily will get the customers excited, but you need to have it for the product to work properly. And then how do you ask those questions, right? Of like, okay, this is new, okay, and so what's new for the customer? How is that going to get them excited? And focusing on those, because if you show every single thing, I mean, today SaaS products are complex, there's so much to them. So I think product marketing also needs to act kind of the gatekeeper of, is does this merit a launch, does this merit being part of our core demo, or is this something very niche that is going to excite a few of our customers?
Absolutely. Completely agree with Yael there. And I would say, I think when you're looking at cadences of like, when do I look at the demo? There's no real answer of like, every quarter, I'm going to go look at our master demo. But I do think what should inform sort of that driving uh, function is your use cases. So the use cases, as you uncover new use cases that your customers have with the product, or use cases that are emerging in market that maybe you are, adjusting your roadmap towards. As product marketing, you kind of have a unique vantage point of, okay, here's what's on the roadmap for the product, and here are kind of how the use cases we're putting to market are changing. As those use cases change or grow, maybe you're adding new use cases, that might be a good forcing function to look at. Okay, the same story isn't necessarily going to tell a new use case. And so how do I make sure that the way we're showing the product every time is relating to the use case that we are now marketing? And when we hear in discovery and whatnot, or we have inbound, or we're reaching out and saying we solved this problem, that we actually then show up and say, here is the way we solve that specific problem. And I think, you see use cases iterate. Even if it's your core use case, you're probably growing and expanding, or there's new functionality, there are new ways you want to show that use case. And so I would use the moments where you're updating your messaging for those use cases, or expanding your use cases, as a forcing function to look at your demo stories.
Love that. I think the world would have better demos if all product marketers put that into their cadence. I love that. With 2 minutes left, this is, both of you are demo stack users, and this is the first time we're having product marketers on our platform. Can maybe, Yael and Noelle, you can mention one thing on how demo stack helps you as a product marketer. So Yael, you can start.
Yeah, I think it's been absolutely transformational. And I'm not saying this just because I'm at a demo stack event. This is everything I was ever looking for, the ability to showcase the product and putting the product at the center. I'm very firm believer in product first product marketing. You can add as many buzzwords as you want and have data sheets and web copy and whatnot. At the end of the day, and especially in cybersecurity, people want to see the product, they want to get a sense of it. And even if it's with guardrails and dummy data, the ability to show that, I think it's a massive transformation, and giving our sellers the ability to have even more qualified prospects, because they get to a sales call and in most cases they've already seen something, even if it's a 15-step product tour that sits on our website. They're not complete strangers to what the solution looks like. And for me, that's been very, very powerful and really transformational.
Amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would say my favorite part is the customizability. We at Gloat are an AI company, and we work with large enterprises. And so when we're trying to show what talent mobility in an enterprise could look like, the ability to customize and create that experience, or show different journeys on, maybe the demo is showing an HR persona or a data scientist. The ability to show what it can do, but make it easy to customize, is really key, and it's really helpful as a product marketer for that storytelling.
Absolutely. I just want to read this one comment. This combo is changing my perspective on the PMM function, understanding how it's done well versus being at odds with sales and products. So thank you, Yael and Noelle, for delivering that to the pre-sales attendants and for all the marketers that are in attendance. This has been enlightening also for me. And so thank you very much, and looking forward to continuing to be in touch and everything. So thank you.